Okay, so I paused the video and just mixed up some paint, and now I'm going to paint the leaves. I like to paint again with the light color first to just go over it completely. This paint, as you'll probably see here, is extremely watered down, and I've also added white to it, but it's very, very watered down. And you would be like so surprised if you saw the back of my page, because this paint doesn't go through, and you know how thin Bible pages are. So a word of warning, when you do wet your page a lot, which I'm going to do in just a bit, is that that it's going to be fragile. This page can tear so easily, and I have torn. Last night I tore a page, so that's why I'm warning you, so it won't happen to you. This brush is full of paint. I've got to clean it off. Yuck. Because I was mixing paint with it, so it got pretty loaded up with paint, and it's just not, it's not working very well. All right, so back to a clean brush. Just gonna dip the end of my brush in, boom. Hardly any paint at all, and it's really watered down. I need to rest my hand on some books. Messy Beautiful Love. Get it at Amazon. Here we go. Now, painting yellow. I like to paint green on top of yellow because then I don't go right to the edge and I leave a little bit of yellow space. It's not really coming on. See, what happened was my son was working with my video while I was mixing colors, and my paint started to dry up, and I'm like, oh, can we hurry because my paint is drying up. So this is where I am now. I've got like paint that's drying up. Let me add some more water to it. So yeah, I'm not having the best results right now because of this. So here I go, super soupy again, and it should work fine better. All right, there we go. Maybe this paintbrush is just not cutting it for me, you know? I don't like that. No, it's not. I'm gonna take that retire that paintbrush right now and go for a nice clean one that I wasn't mixing paint with, and let's see. Ooh, yeah, that is much better. A nice clean paintbrush. Oops, I've got red on this paintbrush. Oh, Darlene. You silly, silly, silly girl. Clean the paintbrush first. See what a goof I am? I'm like, I shouldn't even be doing tutorials. I should be watching tutorials because I'm not. It's like the blind leading the blind here, but I love drawing so much. So, okay, clean brush. Let's do it. Oops, wrong color. Okay, now I'll get my stuff together. There we go. I'll wait till that dries and then I'll go over it again. That little pink spot I made there. Yeah, I'll wait for that to dry. I thought I had a clean brush. What a goof. This is a bright yellow I'm using, but I added white to it. Maybe I added too much white. I don't know. I don't know if you like the color, but yeah, I keep getting a little bit of pink every time I paint because of my brush. And for the sake of time, I don't want to pause the video and like go cleaning all my brushes now and stuff, you know? So I'm just going to continue on with what I got. Just a little bit of yellow. Go over those areas again. And like I said earlier, these are going to get all drawn over, so I don't have to worry too much about going over my pen lines, because I'm going to fix all that up. Make sure I get them all. Some of them are kind of like a little bit hidden here. I've got some going off the edge. Whoops. There we go. There we go. Perfect. Now, before I go on to the green of the leaves, I'm going to do the banner because I've got like yellow on my brush and it's a very similar color. I've mixed up this parchment color. It's almost like a parchment paper, but it's a little yellow. I'd say cream. It's yellow ochre with a lot of white added. In fact, I'm going to add more white to it because I just want it to be subtle. I don't want my banner to have a strong color. I want you to be able to read it. So I just squirt more water on there. Mix up some white. I really want it to be just a nice, soft cream color. So there we go. turning my Bible so my hand can rest on the page when I'm doing it. So sometimes it looks like my video is completely upside down, doesn't it? Ooh, look at how close I got to my edges, but that's okay. So much paint on my brush, yikes. This is good. I'm going to add some shading on there later, but we'll save that for later. Boom, boom, boom. When this one dries, I'm going to add some brown to the edges. That's good. And see how my Nehemiah is so covered up? Not a problem. Okay, wet my brush. There we go. Use some green now. How's my green? Did it get too dried up? Seems to be okay. I think I can use it. Probably got a little yellow ochre on my brush too, but that's okay. Here we go. So I'm putting the green on, and see how I did the yellow first. So now I can I'm gonna put the green on everywhere. I can think, like most of the places anyway. And then when I hardly have anything left on my brush, I'll go in and I'll blend it out. But right now I have too much green on my brush to start doing that, so I'll just keep on adding paint to all of the leaves. Got so much green on my brush. It's almost done, or is it? All right. Yeah, it's hard not to put my hand over my work, you know? Okay, so I'm going to take off the excess paint as much as I can, and now I'll start to blend it out. Blend it out. Blend it out toward the yellow. Blend it out. Wet the brush if I have to, but when I wet the brush, I dab it to my paper towel so I don't have too much water going on. And sometimes it's hard. I gotta like smush it in tiny little circles, like I'm scribbling in circles with a pencil crayon. That's what I do. I just kind of hold it lightly and I kind of scribble around just to spread the paint. It's over the edge. I've got that protective thing. So here we go. Oh good, this is still spreading well. Spreading toward the edges. Good. Spreading. See that? The shading is really what I like a lot. Just that shading. I'm going to grab a little dab more on my edge, but I don't want much. I'm going to take the tiniest bit I can possibly get in right close and really build up that color close to the rose with a bit more of a brilliant green. Not too much, I just got a little dab, but we want that brilliant green kind of close to the rose. And see how my colors all look super muddy. It's really hard to get quiet time in my house to actually do this. We had to cover up my bird. Meanwhile, while I'm doing this, my husband came home and he wants his supper, and it's in the oven. So he went and took his supper out of the oven. It would seem like my house is all quiet, but people saw I was doing this, so they're being quiet and kind of tiptoeing around. And I'm lucky that they're patient with me because I've been having technical difficulties with this, and yeah, so they know that I'm getting kind of a bit rushed and everyone's giving me a little bit of space. I saw my husband go downstairs, so he probably went down to hang out with Graham in the basement for a while. So I think that the green is, you know what, it looks like it's done to me. That's good enough. So now what I'm going to do is, again, it's a tutorial. Okay, so my Bible is upside down on purpose, and because I am left-handed, so I always like to rest my hand on the left side. So sometimes I have my Bible upside down when I'm doing this, and depending on what side of the page I'm working on. So now I'm going to do something, and I'm probably not as good as Fishtails. She is a fellow Bible journaler, and she had a tutorial on how to paint the page, and I've kind of been following hers, and so I'm going to do that for you and show you what I learned. And you can probably look her up too. I think I mentioned it earlier in the video or one of my other videos. It's Fischtales, I think. And look her up on Instagram too, because she has some really good stuff. And if you're looking for me on Instagram, you can find me on Instagram /TimeWarpedWife. All right, so here we go. I'm mixing some paint, and what I'm going to do is mix half and half with white. I want to be very careful. I love turquoise blue, but I don't want it to be too dark. Also, the one thing I've learned about this is that it has to be very, very, very watered down. You're going to see that my page is going to be soaking wet, and this is the really cool part. I've been kind of waiting to show you. So what I do is I take this brush. I've got a wide brush. I love this brush, and I just use it for painting water on. So I'm protecting my page under, I'm protecting my page beside, and let's get started. I'm taking a lot of water, painting the whole page with water. I think this is called glazing your page, but I'm really not an artist, so I don't know if that's really what it's called, but it's kind of like applying a glaze to your page. I always thought, what is that? But it seems to be what this is. So you see how much I put on? It is very wet. And again, I'm going to warn you that the page, when you have it this wet, it is going to be very fragile. So don't go pulling on the page. Last night I tried to pull it to get a wrinkle out, and that was a disaster. I poked a hole in my page, and I had to repair it with a little bit of paint on the seam, but I was able to do that. So okay, so this page is really wet now. Now what I do is take a medium to a larger size brush. I have this one, and this is a number 10 probably. The end feels tough. Let's see, soften it up a little bit. It's got a lot of water. Now I'm going to go to this paint, my turquoise, mix it up. You know what? It still looks a little bit dark for me, so I'm going to add some more white. I'm going to grab my dollar store white, because my dollar store white paint is really thin, and I love that because I need thin paint for this. So okay, give me some. I think this is dollar store. It might have been stuff I bought at Walmart a couple of years ago and had around. I don't know, but you see how I'm getting that light color, because I really don't want to have a super dark color on my page. Oh, I put way much white, but you know what? That just might be what I need. I kind of like it. Okay, we're going to go with that. And since I added a lot of paint, I'm going to add more water. Boom, boom. Oops. Boy, you must think I'm the sloppiest painter in the world, because guess what? I am. All right, this is soaking wet. I'm going to turn my Bible again. And the reason is because I really want to hold down this page on the left. I hope you can see what I'm doing here. I'm going to move things out of the way. All right, so I'm really going to hold down this page. I usually always land up getting some on the other page beside it, so I'm trying to be careful. Okay. Look at that. You seen how much I watered it down? And still, I watered it down, and I lightened it, and it's still this dark. Isn't that just crazy? So I'm going to wipe it off. And I get more water on my brush, wipe it off, water. So, careful. My page is so watered down. Now, if I were to take a paper towel and wipe on this page right now, I would have a disaster, because my page is so sensitive. So, spread it out this way. If you got too much paint, just kind of spread it out. But as you can see, my problem here has been that I can always take a tiny brush in there later and touch that up. I just have way too much paint. So that's the trouble. Oh, I put some white under there later. I'm gonna have to cover that up when I can. I had a little bit of red on there, so I stuck some white on, and now that white is showing through. That doesn't look too great. I'm gonna fix that up. But I'm not gonna stop to this right now just to do that. So here we go. One thing about this too is that when it dries, it's gonna dry a little bit lighter. So don't panic if you think it's really, really, really dark. Now, I've got this other color here, a yellow and a white. I'm gonna add a little more water because I think I need more water on these. So, boop. It is so yellow. Very, very, very soft yellow. It's almost got a greenish tinge to it. I like that. It'll go well with the rest of the piece. I'm gonna make sure I scrape a lot of it off this time. There's probably some blue on my brush, so I'm gonna start right close to that edge. Go on. Just paint over the blue. And this is where I think that the border kind of comes in handy, because it gives me a place to stop. So I find that in Bible journaling, I'm using a lot of borders. I like it. Yeah, it looks kind of sloppy there, doesn't it? Let me see if I can get a little blue and kind of touch that part up there. I can always fix that later. A little more yellow. Yellow. I'm going to wet my brush. It's got a really drippy brush. Get some more yellow on it. This is soaking wet. I would turn the page and show you right now how it looks on the back, but because the page is so sensitive, I'm not going to do that until the end, okay? So I don't want to flip the page and then have my page tear. I've done that too many times and I've kind of learned. So one thing that I keep learning every time I do this is that I never have enough water. This is driving me crazy because I keep making the same mistake all the time. So I'm not very good on the edges. I need to rest my hand on that book. But yeah, I think it's okay. Get like that. Just paint in a little to put a tiny bit on your brush. Get my something to rest my arm on here. And now I kind of think that maybe this yellow would be a nice background in there to those spots that I haven't filled in yet. So I'm gonna kind of see if I can do that. I don't want to move my page. Here we go. A little in there. Whoa. Okay, that's way too much. I'm gonna wipe it off. Come back in there. Oh, good. It's coming off. I'm sure that people who paint a lot can look at my tutorial and probably snicker a little bit because I'm really not that great at this, but I'm learning and I'd like to show y'all what I'm learning as I'm going along. So here we go. Let's continue that yellow down around the bottom. I love having this protective page underneath, so when I go over the edge I can kind of... This paint, acrylic paint is so forgiving, and that's what I really need. I need a paint that's forgiving because I'm not that great at it. All right, so what I'd like to see is a little bit of that that blue in there, but before I switch colors, I'm just going to add a little more here, brighten it up a bit more. And once I color in those black lines, it'll look good. It'll kind of separate the colors a bit because right now they look like they're all being mushed together, right? Here we go, a little bit of this. All right. I should probably be using a smaller brush now for this. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna just reach over and grab my smaller brush. I think this is the one. Hopefully I don't have any paint on it. Just jumping from brush to brush here, which is why I keep a few brushes on hand. Okay. Now these words again are going to get kind of faded out by the color, but not to worry because I'm going to draw them back on again at the end. And you might not, no, maybe I'll keep you on while I do that. If it can dry fast enough, then I can go over all of this and color them in. Then I add a little water and smear it all from the edges toward the center. A little water really helps a lot. Now, if I didn't go over these words again, I wouldn't have that contrast that I'm really looking for, and that contrast is important to me. Gonna put my little shaky hands down here, get some light blue in there, just a little bit of paint on the edge of my paintbrush. Come on down here. I can actually rest my hand on. Okay, so I just turned it off so I could put some of the finishing touches on it and show you the final product. And what I've done here is I've added a little shading here on my scroll. I used some watercolor and I added some brown, and then I just used a wet paintbrush to soften it up a bit. I used a little bit of dark green watercolor pencil because I thought these were too light. And if you remember earlier in the video, I said that contrast is really important if you want your colors to pop. So I went over everything with the black pen. That actually doesn't take as long as you would think it would. I just went over everything really quickly with the black pen. I kind of didn't do too good over Nehemiah. But I also wanted to show you the back of the page so that you'll know what it looks like. So here is the back of the page. It's a little bit wet in that one spot still, but it's just a bit wrinkled, but you really can't see too much of the paint through it, which is totally cool considering how much water I actually had on the page. So that is the end of my tutorial. I hope that you'll share it with your friends and join us on Facebook. I'll put the link in the description, and you can find me on Time Warp Wife. Thanks a lot. Have fun.